Welcome to the DragonLance Saga Gaming Advanced Dungeons & Dragons episode. This is the 8th in the series. It is Lenara's Pale Swelt the First. My name is Adam. DragonLance came out of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, so I thought it would be kind of fun to read through the core rules aloud and discuss them with a live audience. I'd like to take a moment and thank my collaborator patrons, however, the heroes of the Lance, and invite you to consider becoming a patron or a member of this channel by visiting the links in the description below. You can even pick up DragonLance gaming materials using my affiliate link. All right, so we left off on the 5th level spells for the magic user. I got to be honest with you, I thought this was going to go a lot quicker. Like when I first started reading this, I was like, oh yeah, this is just going to be a breeze. It's going to be like, 3 or 4 episodes and we're going to be done. But no, we're more than halfway through, but these spells, man, they just bog down. Take a lot of time. Know what I mean? All right, so let's dive into it. This is the 5th level spells for a magic user. And we're going to start. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Just get my notepad so I can actually make my little notes here. Airy Water. The Airy Water spell turns normal liquids, such as water or water-based infusions, or solubles to a less dense, breathable substance. Thus, if the magic user were desirous of entering an underwater place, he or she would step into the water, cast the spell, and sink downwards into a globe of bubbling water, which he or she and any companions in the spell's area of effect could move freely in and breathe, just as if it were air rather than water. The globe will move with the spellcaster. Note that water-breathing creatures will avoid a sphere or hemisphere of airy water, although intelligent ones can enter if they're able to move by means other than swimming. But no water breathers will be able to breathe in an area affected by this spell. There is only one word which needs to be spoken to actuate the magic, and the material component of the spell is a small handful of alkaline or bromine salts. Animal growth. Except as noted above, and for the fact that material components of the spell is a pinch of powdered bone, it's the same as the 5th level druid spell, Animal Growth. Animate Dead, Necromantic. Except as noted above, this spell is the same as the 3rd level cleric spell, Animate Dead. Bigby's Interposing Hand, Evocation. Bigby's Interposing Hand is a large to huge-sized magic member which appears and places itself between the spellcaster and his or her chosen opponent. This disembodied hand then remains between the two, regardless of what the spellcaster does subsequently or how the opponent tries to get around it. The size of the hand is determined by the magic user, and it can be human-sized all the way up to Titan-sized. It takes as many hit points of damage to destroy as the magic user who cast it. Any creature weighing less than 2,000 pounds trying to push past it will be slowed to 1/2 normal movement. The material component of the spell is a glove. Is this the ultimate talk to the hand? You just have this monstrous hand just shoved right in front of someone's face. All right. Cloud Kill. Evocation. This spell generates a billowing cloud of ghastly yellowish green vapors, which is so toxic as to slay any creature with fewer than 4+1 hit dice, cause creatures with 4+1 to 5+1 hit dice to save versus poison at -4 on the die roll, and creatures up to 6 hit dice, inclusive, to save versus poison normally or be slain by the cloud. The cloud kill moves away from the spellcaster at 1 inch per round, rolling along the surface of the ground. A wind will cause it to alter course, but it will not move back towards its caster. A strong wind will break it up in 4 rounds, and a greater wind force prevents the use of the spell. Very thick vegetation will disperse the cloud in 2 rounds, i.e. moving through such vegetations for 2 inches. As the vapors are heavier than air, they will sink to the lowest level of the land, even pour down den or sinkhole openings. Thus, it is ideal for slaying nests of giant ants, for example. Conjure Elemental, Conjuration, Summoning. There are actually 4 spells in one as respects Conjure Elemental. The magic user is able to conjure an air, earth, fire, or water elemental with this spell, assuming he or she has the material component for the particular elemental. A considerable fire source must be in range to conjure that type of elemental. A large amount of water must be likewise available for the conjuration of a water elemental. Conjured elementals are very strong. See Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. Typically having 16 hit dice, 16d8. It is possible to conjure up a successive elementals of different type if the spellcaster has memorized 2 or more of these spells. The type of elemental to be conjured must be decided upon before memorizing the spell. The elemental conjured up must be controlled by the magic user, i.e., the spellcaster must concentrate on the elemental doing his or her commands, or it will turn on the magic user and attack. The elemental, however, will not cease a combat to do so, but it will avoid creatures when seeking its conjurer. If the magic user is wounded or grappled, his or her concentration is broken. There is always a 5% chance that the elemental will turn on its conjurer, regardless of concentration, and this check is made at the end of the second and each succeeding round. The elemental can be controlled up to 3 inches distant per level of the spellcaster. The elemental remains until its form on this plane is destroyed due to damage or the spell's duration expires. Note that water elementals are destroyed if they move beyond 6 inches of a body of water. The material component of this spell, besides the quantity of the single element at hand, is a small amount of burning incense for air elementals, soft clay for earth elementals, sulfur and phosphorus for fire elementals, and water and sand for water elementals. Getting tongue-tied. NB, special protection from uncontrolled elementals is available by means of a pentagram, thaumaturgic triangle, magic circle, or protection from evil spell. Cone of Cold, evocation. With this spell's cast, it causes a cone-shaped area originating at the magic user's hand and extending outwards in a cone 1/2 inch long per level of the spellcaster. It drains heat and causes 1 4-sided die plus 1 hit point of damage, 1d4 plus 1, per level of experience of the magic user. For example, a 10th level magic user would cast a Cone of Cold causing 10d4 plus 10 hit points of damage. Its material component is a crystal or glass cone of very small size. Contact Other Plane, divination. When this spell is cast, the magic user sends his or her mind to another plane of existence in order to receive advice and information from powers there. As these powers are located at random and recent such contact in any case, only brief answers will be given. Your DM will answer all questions with a yes, no, maybe, never, irrelevant, etc. The character can contact an elemental plane or some plane further removed. For every 2 levels of experience of the magic user, 1 question may be asked. Contact with minds far removed from the plane of the magic user increases the probability of the spellcaster going insane or dying, but the chance of the power knowing the answer, as well as the probability of telling the correct answer, are likewise increased by moving to distant planes. And we have a bit of a chart here. Let me show you. So we got the plane and the likelihood of insanity. God, that's great. Do you think this is the spell that Raistlin Majir used when he was reaching into the dragon orb in War of the Twins, and he reached forward in time to Dalamar at the Tower of High Sorcery in Palanthas to ask him to go check on Astonis's records for the future of the war, the Dwarf Gate War? Do you think this is the spell he used? Because it's not really going through planes, but it's going forward in time. I don't know. And they were communicating. It wasn't a simple yes or no, so who knows? He didn't go insane, though. So unless you consider Raistlin already insane. All right. Insanity will strike as soon as 1 question is asked. It will last for 1 week for each removal of the plane contacted, 10 weeks maximum. There is a 1% chance per plane that the magic user will die before recovering unless a remove curse spell is cast upon him or her. Thanks for joining, Michael. Good to see you. Yeah, it's possible. Who knows? And the thing is, like, if we're being honest, they stopped referencing, Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss stopped referencing the game materials after Dragons of Autumn Twilight. They just sort of went on their way and just, they tried to say somewhat bound by the rules, but they were, sort of just doing their own thing, which I genuinely appreciate. But it's true. They were just kind of doing their own thing. Distance distortion, alteration. This spell can only be cast when the magic user has an earth elemental conjured up, but the elemental will not react hostilely to cooperation with the spellcaster when he or she announces that his or her intent is to cast a distance distortion spell. The magic places the earth elemental in the area of effect, and the elemental that causes the area's dimensions to be distorted in either of two ways. One, the area will effectively be 1/2 the distance to those traveled over it, or two, the area will be twice the distance to those traveling across it. Thus, a 10-foot by 100-foot corridor could seem as if it was but 5 feet wide and 50 feet long, or it could appear to be 20 feet wide and 200 feet long when the spell duration has elapsed. The elemental returns to its own plane. The true nature of an area affected by distance distortion is absolutely undetectable to any creature traveling along it, although the area will radiate a dim dweomer, and a true seeing spell will reveal that an earth elemental is spread within the area. Material needed for the spell is a small lump of soft clay. This spell reminds me of every horror film ever when anyone's running down a hallway. You see it in Poltergeist, especially when the mom's going to her daughter's room to try to rescue her from screaming. But she starts running down the hall and the hall just elongates in front of her. That's this distance distortion spell in action, I think. Extension 2, Alteration. This spell is the same as the 4th level Extension 1 spell, except it extends the duration of 1st through 4th level spells by 50%. That's pretty cool. Feeble-Minded, Enchantment, Charm. Except as noted above, this spell is the same as the 6th level Druid spell, Feeble-Mind. The material component of the spell is a handful of small clay, crystal, glass, or mineral spheres. Hold Monster, Enchantment, Charm. This spell immobilizes from 1 to 4 creatures of any type within spell range and inside of the spellcaster. He or she can opt to hold 1, 2, 3, or 4 monsters. If 3 or 4 are attacked, each saving throw is at normal. If 2 are attacked, each saving throw is at -1 on the die. And if but 1 is attacked, the saving throw is at -3 on the die. Partially negated hold monster spell effects equal those of a slow spell. The material component for this spell is 1 hard metal bar or rod for each monster to be held. The bar or rod can be small, i.e. the size of a 3-penny nail. Leomund's Secret Chest. Alteration, Conjuration, Summoning. In order to cast this spell, the magic user must have an exceptionally well-crafted and expensive chest constructed for him by a master craftsman. If made principally of wood, it must be of ebony, rosewood, sandalwood, teak, or the like, and all of its corner fittings, nails, and hardware must be of platinum. If constructed of ivory, the metal fittings of the chest may be of gold, and if the chest is fashioned from bronze, copper, or silver, its fittings may be of electrum or silver. The cost of such a chest will never be less than 5,000 gold pieces. Once constructed, the magic user must have a tiny replica of the same materials and perfect in every detail made, so that the miniature of the chest appears to be a perfect copy. One magic user can have but 1 pair of these chests at any given time, and even wish spells do not allow exceptions. While touching the chest and holding the tiny replica, the caster chants the spell. This will cause the large chest to vanish into the ethereal plane. The chest can contain 1 cubic foot of material per level of the spellcaster or magic user, no matter what its apparent size. Living matter makes it 75% likely that the spell will fail, so the chest is typically used for securing valuable spellbooks, magic items, gems, etc. As long as the spellcaster has the small duplicate of magic chest, he or she can recall the large one from the ethereal plane to the locale he or she is in when the chest is desired. If the miniature of the chest is lost or stolen, there is no way, including a wish, that the large chest will return. While on the ethereal plane, there is a 1% cumulative chance per week that some creature or being will find the chest. If this occurs, there is a 10% likelihood that the chest will be ignored, 10% possibility that something will be added to the contents, 30% possibility that the contents will be exchanged for something else, 30% chance that something will be stolen from it, and 20% probability that it will be emptied. In addition, when the secret chest is brought back from the prime material plane, an ethereal window is opened and remains open for 5 hours, slowly diminishing in size. As this hole opens between the planes, there's a 5% chance that some ethereal monster will be drawn through, with a 1% cumulative reduction in probability each hour thereafter until the window is gone. However, No creature on the prime material plane can locate the chest even with a gem of seeing, true seeing, etc. If Liamun's secret chest is not retrieved before the spell duration lapses, there is a cumulative chance of 5% per day that the chest will be lost forever, i.e., 5% chance for the loss of at 61 days, 10% at 62 days, and so forth. So I have to ask myself, what is the point of this chest if dudes can just be walking along the ethereal plane, stumble across your chest, and steal your shit? Like, what? Why even send it there? That's ridiculous. Charlie, thanks for joining live, man. How you doing? Have I done a video on the test of high sorcery? Going to run a game soon. Would love to see some ideas. I have not, though I have talked about the towers of high sorcery. That's a really good idea. This coming Tuesday, just in a couple days here, the next Dragonlance setting video is Fistendantilus. So I'm going to be talking all about Fistendantilus' history as a character. And I think, you know, I could do a test of high sorcery next, but that wouldn't be until next week, you know, the following week. So I'll put a pin in that, and I'll do that, Charlie. I know how quickly you're going to be running the game, but I'll throw out some ideas for you. Magic Jar. Possession. Magic Jar is a very unusual spell. It enables the magic user to take over the mind of the victim and thus control the creature's body. In fact, if the body is human or humanoid, the magic user can even use the spells he or she knows. The possessor can call upon rudimentary knowledge of the possessed, but not upon the real knowledge, i.e., a possessor will not know the language or spells of the possessed. The spellcaster transfers his or her life force to a special container, a large gem or crystal, speaking of Fistendantilus, right? And from this magic jar, the life force can sense and attack any creature within the spell range radius. But what the creature is not determinable by the magic jar. The special life force receptacle must be within spell range of the magic user's body at the time of spell casting. Possession takes place only if the victim fails to make the required saving throw. Failure to possess a victim leaves the life force of the magic user in the magic jar. Possession attempts require 1 round each. If the body of the spellcaster is destroyed, the life force of the magic jar is not harmed. If the magic jar is destroyed, the life force is snuffed out. Returning to the real body requires 1 round and can only be done from a magic jar in spell range of the body. The saving throw versus a magic jar spell is modified by the comparing combined intelligence and wisdom scores, intelligence only in non-human or non-humanoid creatures, of the magic user and victim. So I don't know if my shoulder's in the way of seeing this fully here, but just shows the difference in the die adjustment between the intelligence and wisdom scores. A negative score indicates the magic user has a lower score that does his or her intended victim. Thus, the victim has a saving throw bonus. The magic jar is the spell's material component. Note that a possessed creature with any negative difference or positive difference less than 5 is entitled to a saving throw each round to determine if he is able to displace the possessor's mind. A positive difference of 5 or 8 gains a saving throw each turn. A positive difference of 9 to 12 gains a saving throw each day, and a positive difference of 13 or better gains a saving throw each week. If the magic jarred creature regains control of its mind, the magic user is trapped until he or she can take over the mind for control or escape. That really does sound to me like Fistendantilus. I mean, it's an altered version of it, but yeah, that soul stone, it seems like it's a version of a magic jar. Kind of cool. Pardon. Monster Summoning 3 Conjuration Summoning. When this spell is cast, 1 to 4 3rd level monsters are summoned, coming within 1 to 4 rounds. See Monster Summoning 1 for other details. Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound. Conjuration Summoning. By means of this spell, the magic user summons up a phantom watchdog, which only he or she can see. He or she may then command it to perform as guardian of a passage room, door, or similar space or portal. The phantom watchdog will immediately commence a loud barking if any creature larger than a cat approaches the place it guards. As the faithful hound is able to detect invisible, astral, ethereal, out-of-phase, duo-dimensional, or similar non-visible creatures, it is an excellent guardian. In addition, if the intruding creature or creatures allow their backs to be exposed to the Phantom Watchdog, it will deliver a vicious attack as if it were a 10 hit dice monster, striking for 3 to 18 hit points of damage and being able to hit opponents of all sorts, even those normally subject only to magical weapons of +3 or greater. Jeez. The Faithful Hound cannot be attacked, but it can be dispelled. Note, however, that the spellcaster can never be more than 3 inches distant from the area that the Phantom Watchdog is guarding, or the magic is automatically dispelled. The material components of this spell are a tiny silver whistle, a piece of bone, and a thread. Pass wall, alteration. A pass wall enables the spellcaster to open a passage through wooden, plaster, or stone walls. Thus, he or she and any associates can simply walk through. The spell causes a 5 foot wide by 8 foot high by 10 foot deep opening. Note, several of these spells will form a continuing passage so that very thick walls can be pierced. The material component of the spell is a pinch of sesame seeds. Stone shape, alteration, level 5. By means of this spell, the magic user can form an existing piece of stone into a shape which will suit his or her purposes. For example, a stone weapon can be made, a special trapdoor fashioned, or an idol sculpted. But by the same token, it would allow the spellcaster to reshape a stone door, perhaps as to escape imprisonment, providing the volume of the stone involved was within the limits of the area of effect, while stone coffers can be thus formed, secret doors made, etc. The finest of detail is not great. The material component of the spell is soft clay, which must be worked into roughly the desired shape of the stone object, and then touched to the stone when the spell is uttered. Telekinesis, alteration. By means of this spell, the magic user is able to move objects by will force. By concentrating on moving them mentally, the telekinesis spell causes the desired object to move vertically or horizontally. Movement is 2 inches the first round, 4 inches the second, 8 inches the third, 16th inches the fourth, and so on, doubling each round until a maximum telekinetic movement of 1,024 inches per round is reached. Heavy objects traveling at high speeds can be deadly weapons. Note that telekinesis can be used to move opponents who fall within the weight capacity of the spell, but if they are able to employ as simple a countermeasure as an enlarged spell, for example, thus making the body weight go over the maximum spell limit, it is easily countered. Likewise, ambulation or some other form of motive power, if the recipient of the spell is not able to ambulate, counters the effect of telekinesis, provided the velocity is not reached 16 inches per round. The various Bigby's hand spells will also counter this spell, as will many other magics. Teleport, alteration. When this spell is used, the magic user instantly transports himself or herself along with a certain amount of additional weight which is upon or being touched by the spellcaster to a well-known destination. Distance is not a factor, but interplane travel is not possible by means of a teleport spell. The spellcaster is able to teleport a maximum weight of 2,500 gold pieces equivalents, plus an additional 1,500 gold piece weight for each level of experience above the 10th, i.e. a 13th level magic user teleport a maximum weight of 7,000 gold pieces, or 700 pounds. If the destination area is very familiar to the magic user, he or she has a clear mental picture, through actual proximity and studying of the area. It is unlikely that there will be any error in arriving exactly in the place desired. Lesser known areas, those seen only magically or from a distance, increase the probability of error. Unfamiliar areas present considerable peril. This is demonstrated below. So this is our table here, probability of teleporting, and then it gives you the difficulty on a percentile dice. That reminds me of Tasselhoff in Istar, when he confronts Raistlin as Fistidantilus, and he tells him about having the time travel device, and saying that he wants to stop the cataclysm. And anyway, after that conversation, Raistlin pretty much just tells him to get the hell out of his office, and Tasselhoff is like, hey, could you teleport me again? Because he just loves teleporting. And so Raistlin just teleports him into the garden, like on a bunch of flowers. There's funny little touches like that make I don't know, make me like Tasselhoff a lot. Teleporting high means the magic user will arrive 1 inch above ground for every 1% he or she is below the lowest on-target probability, only 2 inches when the destination is very familiar, and as high as 32 inches if the destination area was never seen. Any low result means the instant death of the magic user if the area into which he or she teleports is solid. Note that there is no possibility of teleporting to an area of empty space, i.e. a substantial area of surface must be there, whether a wooden floor, a stone floor, natural ground, etc. Transmute rock to mud. Alteration reversible. Except as noted above, and that the material components of the spell are clay and water, or sand, lime, and water for the reverse, this spell is the same as the 5th level druid spell, Transmute rock to mud. Wall of Force, Evocation. A Wall of Force spell creates an invisible barrier in the locale desired by the caster, up to the spell's range. The Wall of Force will not move and is totally unaffected by any other spells, including Dispel Magic, save a Disintegrate spell, which will immediately destroy it. Likewise, the Wall of Force is not affected by blows, missiles, cold, heat, electricity, or any similar things. Spells or breath weapons will not pass through it in either direction. The magic user can, if desired, shape the wall to a hemispherical or spherical shape within an area equal to his or her ability, maximum of 20 square feet per level of experience. The material component of this spell is a pinch of powdered diamond. That's a great spell, right? Ugh, Wall of Force. Wall of Iron, Evocation. When this spell is cast, the magic user causes a vertical iron wall to spring into being. Typically, this wall is used to seal off a passage or close a breach, for the wall inserts itself into any surrounding material if its area is sufficient to do so. The Wall of Iron is 1/4 of an inch thick per level of experience of the spellcaster. The magic user is able to evoke an area of iron wall 15 square feet for each of his or her experience levels. So at 12th level, a wall of iron 180 square feet in area can be created. If the wall is created in a location where it's not supported, it will fall and crush any creature beneath it. The wall is permanent unless attacked by a Dispel Magic spell, but subject to all forces a normal iron wall is subject to, i.e. rust, perforation, etc. The material component of the spell is a small piece of sheet iron. Wall of Stone, Evocation. This spell creates a wall of granite rock, which merges into adjoining rock surfaces if the area is sufficient to allow it. It is typically employed to close passages, portals, and breaches against opponents. The Wall of Stone is 1/4 foot thick and 20 feet square in an area per level of experience of the magic user casting the spell. Thus, a 12th level magic user creates a Wall of Stone 3 feet thick and 240 square feet in surface area, a 12-foot wide and 20-foot high wall, for example, to completely close a 10-foot by 16-foot passage. The wall created needs not be vertical nor rest upon any firm foundation. However, it must merge with an existing stone formation. It can be used to bridge a chasm, for instance, or as a ramp. The wall is permanent unless destroyed by a Dispel Magic spell or by normal means such as breaking, chipping, or a Disintegrate spell, the material component of a small block of granite. Well, that is how you build your keep, I would say. Just building Wall of Stone. And that is it for 5th level spells. Now we are at 6th level spells. Anti-Magic Shell, Abjuration. By means of an anti-magic shell, the magic user causes an invisible barrier to surround his or her person, and this moves with the spellcaster. The barrier is totally impervious to all magic and magic spell effects. This includes such attack forms as breath weapons, gaze weapons, and voice weapons. It thus prevents the entrance of spells or their effects, and it likewise prevents the function of any magical items or spells within its confines. It prevents the entrance of charmed, summoned, and conjured creatures. However, normal creatures, assume a normal troll rather than one conjured up, for instance, can pass through the shell, as can normal missiles. While a magic sword would not function magically within the shell, it would still be a sword. Bigby's Forceful Hand, Evocation. Bigby's Forceful Hand is a more powerful version of Bigby's Interposing Hand. It exerts a force in addition to interposing itself, and this force is sufficient to push a creature away from the spellcaster if the creature weighs 500 pounds or less, to push so as to slow movement to 1 inch per round if the creature weighs between 500 and 2,000 pounds, and to slow movement by 50% of creatures weighing up to 8,000 pounds. It takes as many hit points to destroy as the creator has. Its material component is a glove. Control Weather Alteration. Except as noted above, and for the differing material components, this spell is the same as the 7th level Cleric Control Weather spell. The material component of this spell are burning incense and bits of earth and wood mixed in water. You know, just as a side note, as someone who works with copy professionally, them using different phrases for the exact same thought really bothers me. So just as an example, it says here, except as noted above, and for the differing material components. If they had that same phrase in every place where it's applicable, but they change it up sometimes into something different, and that drives me crazy. It should always be the same. Uniformity. Death Spell. Conjuration Summoning. When a death spell is cast, it slays a creature in the area of effect instantly and irrevocably. The number of creatures which can be so slain is a function of their hit dice. And we have a bit of a table here to show you. Victim's hit dice and maximum number of creatures affected. Death Spell. That's Lord Soth on Chrysania, right? Die. If a mixed group of creatures is attacked with a death spell, use the following conversion. And so we have our mixed group here. First, simply roll the die to see how many creatures of less than 2 hit dice are affected. Kill all these, then use the conversion to kill all 2 to 4 hit die monsters, etc. If not enough of the number remains to kill the higher levels, they remain. This system can be reversed by applying it to higher hit die victims first. Example, the 4d20 when rolled indicate a total of 53. 20 of this is used to kill 1, 6 plus 4 to 8 plus 3 die creatures. 20 times 0.05 equals 1. 16 are used to kill 2, 4 plus 1 to 6 plus 3 hit die creatures. 16 times 0.125 equals 2. 12 are used to kill 3 to 4 die creatures. 3 times 4 equals 12, and 5 remainder can be used to kill off 5 less than 2 dice creatures. 5 times 1 equals 5, i.e. 20 plus 16 plus 12 plus 5 equals 53. A death spell does not affect lycanthropes, undead creatures, or creatures from other than the prime material plane. The material component of this spell is a crushed black pearl with a minimum value of 1,000 gold pieces. I think that's the last one on that side. Yes. Disintegrate. Alteration. This spell causes matter to vanish. It will affect even matter or energy of a magical nature, such as Bigby's Forceful Hand, but not a globe of invulnerability or an anti-magic shell. Disintegration is instantaneous, and its effects are permanent. Any living thing can be affected, even undead, and non-living matter up to 1 inch cubic volume can be obliterated by the spell. Creatures in magical material with a saving throw will successfully save versus the spell are not effective. Only one creature or object can be the target of the spell. Its material components are a lodestone and a pinch of dust. Enchant an item. Conjuration Summoning. This is a spell which must be used by a magic user planning to create a magic item. The Enchant an Item spell prepares the object to accept the magic to be placed upon it or within it. The item to be magicked must meet the following tests. 1. It must be in sound and undamaged condition. 2. The item must be the finest possible considering its nature, i.e. crafted of the highest quality materials and with the finest workmanship. And 3. Its cost of value must reflect the second test, and in most cases the item must have a raw materials cost in excess of 100 gold pieces. With respect to requirements, 3. It is not possible to apply this test to items such as ropes, leather goods, cloth, and pottery, not normally embroidered, bejeweled, tooled, carved, and or engraved. However, if such work or materials can be added to an item without weakening or harming its normal functions, These are required for the item to be magicked. And we got a bit of an image of someone magicking, crafting an item. The item to be prepared must be touched manually by the spellcaster. This touching must be consistent and continual during the casting time, which is a base 16 hours, plus an additional 8 to 64 hours, as the magic user may never work over 8 hours per day, and haste or any other spells will not alter time required in any way. This effectively means that casting time for the spell is 2 days plus 1 to 8 days. All work must be uninterrupted, and during rest periods, the item being enchanted must never be more than 1 foot distant from the spellcaster, for if it is, the whole spell is spoiled and must be begun again. Note that during rest periods, absolutely no other form of magic may be performed, and the magic user must remain quiet and in isolation. At the end of the spell, the caster will know that the item is ready for the final test. He or she will then pronounce the final magical syllable, and if the item makes a saving throw, which is exactly the same as that of the magic user who magicked it, versus magic, the spell is completed. Note that the spellcaster's saving throw bonus also applies to the item, up to but not exceeding a +3. A result of 1 on the die, d20, always results in failure, regardless of modifications. Once the spell is finished, the magic user may begin to place the desired dweomer upon the item, and the spell he or she plans to place on it within the item must be cast within 24 hours, or the preparatory spell fades, and the item must again be enchanted. Each spell subsequently cast upon an object bearing an enchant an item spell requires 4 hours, plus 48 additional hours per spell level of the magic being cast. Again, during the casting, the item must be touched by the magic user, and during the rest periods, it must always be within 1 of his or her person. This procedure holds true for any additional spells placed upon the item, and each successive dweomer must be begun within 24 hours of the last, even if any prior spell failed. No magic placed on or into an item is permanent unless a permanency spell is used as a finishing touch, and this always runs a risk of draining a point of constitution from the magic user casting the spell. It is also necessary to point out that while it is possible to tell when the basic enchant an item spell succeeds, it is not possible to tell if successive castings actually take, for each must make the same sort of saving throw as the item itself made. Naturally, items that are charged, rods, staffs, wands, javelins of lightning, ring of wishes, etc., can never be made permanent. Scrolls or magic devices can never be used to enchant an item or cast magic upon an object so prepared. The material components for this spell vary according to both its nature of the item being magicked and successive magics to be cast upon it. For example, a cloak of displacement might require the hide of 1 or more displacer beasts. A sword meant to slay dragons could require the blood and some other part of the types of dragon it will be effective against, and a ring of shooting stars might require pieces of meteorites and the horn of a Krynn. These specifics, as well as other information pertaining to the spell, are known by your dungeon master. Extension 3, Alteration. This spell is the same as the 4th level Extension 1, except that it's extended 1st through 3rd spells to double duration, and will extend the duration of 4th or 5th level spells by 50% of the indicated duration. Geese. Enchantment, Charm. A geese spell places a magical command upon the creature, usually human or humanoid, to carry out some service or refrain from some action or course of activity, as desired by the spellcaster. The creature must be intelligent, conscious, and under its own volition. While the geese cannot compel a creature to kill itself or to perform acts which are likely to result in certain death, it can cause almost any other course of action. The spell causes the geese creature to follow the instructions until the geese is completed. Failure to do so will cause the creature to grow sick and die within 1 to 4 weeks. Deviation from or twisting of the instructions causes corresponding loss of strength points until the deviation ceases. A geese can be done away with by a wish spell, but to dispel magic or remove curse will not negate it. Your referee will instruct you as to any additional details of a geese, for its casting and fulfillment are tricky, and an improperly cast geese is null and void immediately. Hey, Vinny. Appreciate you chiming in, and thank you very much for that comment. I really do appreciate that. Glassy alteration. By means of this spell, the magic user is able to make a section of metal, stone, or wood as transparent as glass to his gaze, or even make it into a transparent material as explained hereafter. Normally, up to 4 inches of metal can be seen through, stone up to 6 foot thick can be made transparent, and 20 feet of wood can be affected by the Glassy spell. The spell will not work on lead, gold, or platinum. The magic user can opt to make the Glassy apply to himself or herself only, and apply it up to 1 round while spell duration lasts, or the caster can actually make a transparent area a one-way window into the material affected. Either case gives a viewing area 3 foot wide by 2 feet high. The material component of the spell is a small piece of crystal or glass. Globe of Invulnerability. Abjuration. This spell is the same as the 4th level minor Globe of Invulnerability, except as regarded casting time and for the fact that it prevents the functioning of 1st through 4th level spells affecting the magic user within the globe, while he or she can cast spells through it, of course. Guards and Wards. Evocation, Alteration, Enchantment, Charm. This special and powerful spell is primarily used to defend the magic user's stronghold. The following takes place in the area of effect upon casting of the spell. 1. All corridors become misty and visibility is reduced to 10 feet. 2. All doors are wizard locked. 3. 1 door per level of experience of the magic user is covered by an illusion as if it were a plain wall. 4. Stairs are filled with webs from top to bottom. 5. Where there are choices in direction, such as a cross or side passage, a minor confusion type spell functions so as to make it 50% probable that the intruders will believe they are going in the exact opposite direction. 6. The whole area radiates magic. 7. The magic user can place one of the following additional magics. A. Dancing lights in 4 corridors, or B. Magic mouths in 2 places, or C. Stinking clouds in 2 places, or D. Gusts of wind in 1 corridor or room, or E. Suggestion in 1 place. Note that items 3 and 7 function only when the magic user is totally familiar with the area of the spell's effects. Dispel magic can remove 1 effect at random per casting of a dispel. A remove curse will not work. The material components of the spell are burning incense, a small measure of sulfur and oil, a knotted string, a small amount of Umber Hulk blood, and a small silver rod. That's the greatest lockdown ever. Man, talk about safe zone. Invisible Stalker, Conjuration Summoning. This spell summons an invisible stalker from the elemental plane of air. This 8-hit die monster will obey and serve the spellcaster in performance of whatever tasks are set before it. However, the creature is bound to serve. It does not do so from loyalty or desire. Therefore, it will resent prolonged missions or complex tasks, and it will attempt to pervert instructions accordingly. For complete details of the Invisible Stalker, consult Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. The Invisible Stalker will follow instructions even at hundreds or thousands of miles distance. The material component of this spell are burning incense and a piece of horn carved into a crescent shape. Yeah, don't have your Invisible Stalker go get you groceries at the store, because it's going to come back with all the gluten-filled stuff that's going to make you all gummed up inside just to piss you off. Legend lore. I just imagine this Invisible Stalker talking smack to you just wild attitude the whole time, just sass, you know? The Invisible Sass Stalker. All right, legend lore, divination. The legend lore spell is used to determine information available regarding a known person, place, or thing. If the person or thing is at hand, or if the magic user is in the place in question, the likelihood of the spell producing results is far greater, and the casting time is only 1 to 4 turns. If detailed information on the person, place, or thing is known, casting time is 1 to 10 days. If only rumors are known, casting time is 2 to 12 weeks. During the casting, the magic user cannot engage in other activities other than routine, eating, sleeping, etc. When completed, the divination will reveal if legendary material is available. It will often reveal where this material is by place, name, rhyme, or riddle. It will sometimes give certain information regarding the person, place, or thing when the object of the legend lore is at hand, but this data will always be in some form, cryptic form, rhyme, riddle, anagram, cipher, sign, etc. The spell is cast with incense and strips of ivory formed into a rectangle, but some items must be sacrificed in addition. A potion, scroll, magical scroll, magic item, creature, etc. Naturally, legend lore will reveal information only if the person, place, or thing is noteworthy or legendary. Lower water, alteration, reversible. Except as noted above, and for the facts that the reverse spell water raises water only 1/2 foot per level of experience of the spellcaster, and the material component for the spell are a small vial of water and a small vial of dust, it is the same as the 4th level cleric spell, lower water. Monster Summoning 4, Conjuration Summoning. This spell summons 1 to 3 4th level monsters, and they appear within 1 to 3 rounds. See Monster Summoning 1 for other details. Move Earth, alteration. When cast, the Move Earth spell moves dirt, clay, loam, sand, and its other components. Thus, embankments can be collapsed, hillocks moved, dunes shifted, etc. The area to be affected will dictate the casting time. For every 4-inch square area, 1 turn of casting time is required. If terrain features are to be moved, as compared to simply carving in banks or walls of earth, it is necessary that an earth elemental be subsequently summoned to assist. All spell casting and or summoning must be completed before any effect occurs. In no event can rock prominences be collapsed or moved. The material component for this spell are a mixture of soils, clay, loam, sand, in a small bag and an iron blade. Odaluk's Freezing Sphere. Odaluk's Freezing Sphere is a multi-purpose dweomer of considerable power. If the caster opts, he or she may create a globe of matter at absolute 0 temperature, which spreads upon contact with water or liquid, which is principally composed of water, so as to freeze to a depth of 6 inches over an area equal to 100 square feet per level of the magic user casting the spell. The ice so formed lasts for 1 round per level of the caster. The spell can also be used as a thin ray of cold, which springs from the caster's hand to a distance of 1 inch per level of the magic user. This ray will inflict 4 hit points of damage per level of the spellcaster upon the creature struck, with a saving throw versus magic applicable and all damage negated if it's successful, as long as the ray is so narrow to save indicates it's missed. But the path of the ray being plotted to its full distance, as anything else in its path must save if applicable or take appropriate damage. Finally, Odaluk's Freezing Sphere can be cast so as to create a small globe about the size of a sling stone, cool to the touch, but not harmful. This globe can be cast and it will shatter upon impact, inflicting 4 to 24 hit points of cold damage upon all creatures within a 10-foot... It doesn't have a foot or inch reference. It's probably inches. Within a 10-inch radius, 1/2 damage if saving throw versus magic is made. Note that if the globe is not thrown or slung within a time period equal to 1 round times the level of the spellcaster, it automatically shatters and causes cold damage as stated above. This time defect can be employed against pursuers, although it can also prove hazardous to the spellcaster and or his or her associates as well. The material components of the spell depend upon which form it is to be cast. A thin sheet of crystal about 1 inch square is needed for the first application of the spell, a white sapphire of not less than 1,000 gold piece value for the second application of the spell, and a 1,000 gold piece diamond is minimum for the third application of the spell. All components are lost when the spell is cast. Part Water, alteration. Except as shown above, and also that the material components for the spell are 2 small sheets of crystal or glass, the spell is the same as the 6th level cleric spell, Part Water. Project Image, alteration, illusion, phantasm. By means of this spell, the magic user creates a non-material duplicate of himself or herself, projecting it to any spot within magic range which is desired. The image performs actions identical to the magic user, walking, speaking, spellcasting, as the magic user determines. A special channel exists between the image of the magic user and the actual magic user, so the spell can actually originate from the image. The image can be dispelled only by means of a dispel magic spell, or upon command from the spellcaster, and attacks do not affect it. The image must be within view of the magic user projecting it at all times, and if his or her sight is obstructed, the spell is broken. The material component of this spell is a small replica doll of the magic user. So you're just walking around with a doll of yourself? on the off chance that you're going to be using that spell. All right. All right. Reincarnate. It's like carrying a mini-me around with you, right? Like how small is this doll? Is it like action figure size, or is it like my buddy size? You know, like Chucky or something? Interesting. Reincarnation, necromantic. This spell is similar to the 7th level druid spell of the same name. It does not require any saving throw for system shock or resurrection survival. The corpse is touched, and a new incarnation of the person will appear in the area in 1 to 6 turns, providing the person has not been dead for longer than 1 day per level of experience of the magic user. The new incarnation will be, and we have a chart here, bugbear, dwarf, elf, gnoll, gnome, goblin, half-elf, halfling, half-orc, hobgoblin, or human. And then there must be more on the other side here. That's ridiculous. All right, reincarnation. Oh, here's the other ones. Kobold, orc, ogre, ogre mage, and troll. Note, very good or very evil persons will not be reincarnated as creatures whose general alignment is the opposite. The material components of the spell are a small drum and a drop of blood. Repulsion, abjuration. When this spell is cast, the magic user is able to cause all creatures in the path of the area of effect to move away from his or her person. Repulsion is at 3 inches per round, or at the motive speed of the creature attempting to move toward the spellcaster. The repelled creature will continue to move away from the balance of a complete move, even though this takes it beyond spell range. The material component of the spell is a pair of small magnetized iron bars attached to 2 small canine statuettes, 1 ivory and 1 ebony. Which, how can you not think of that song when that comes up? All right, shipwreck, evocation, abjuration. A shipwreck spell is a very strong protection or punishment spell against the powerful creatures of the nether planes, abyssal, Hades, hell, etc. But to employ the magic, the spellcaster must know the name of the being at whom he or she will direct the energy. Prior to actual utterance of the... Oh, it's spirit rack. I totally read that wrong. Sorry, guys. Spirit rack spell, the magic user must prepare an illuminated sheet of vellum, carefully inscribed in special inks made from the powdered rubies and the ichor of a slain demon of type 1, 2, or 3, and covered with gold leaf in a continuous border. The spellcaster must personally prepare this document, including the being's name thereon. This will require from 8 to 32 hours of time and costs 1,000 gold pieces for vellum, special pens, gold leaf, and other miscellaneous materials alone. The cost of the powdered rubies is a minimum of 5,000 gold pieces for each document. If the demon, devil, or other powerful being from a nether outer plane is present in some form and not possessing another creature's body instead, the magic user can then begin actual spell incantation. Immediately upon beginning the reading of the document, the being named will be rooted to the spot, unless it makes its magic resistance percentage adjusted for the level of the magic user as a saving throw, and even if a saving throw is made, the monster feels greatly uncomfortable, and if it has not been magically forced to the locale and so held there, it is 90% likely to retreat to its own or another plane, as the named being is powerless to attack the magic user while he or she is reading this spell document. This first part of the document continues for 1 full round, with the discomfort to the named being becoming greater at the end. During the second minute of the incantation, the being named undergoes acute pain and loses 1 hit point per hit die it possesses. At the end of this round of reading, the being is in racking pain. The third and final round of utterance of the condemnation will cause a loss of the being of 50% of its existing hit points, horrible pain, and at the end, consign it to some confined space in its own plane, there to remain in torture for a number of years equal to the level of the magic user who prepared the document. Obviously, the being so dealt with will be the sworn foe of the magic user forever afterwards, so the magic user will be loath to finish the spell, but rather use it as a threat to force submission of the being. Each round of reading will cause the being forced to listen to be a cumulative 25% likely to concede even without any other offerings or payment. Wow. That actually kind of reminds me of the Evil Dead TV show when they summoned, it was a lesser demon, but when they summoned it, pretty good stuff. Stone to flesh, alteration, reversible. The stone to flesh spell turns any sort of stone into flesh. Durr. If the recipient's stone object was formerly living, it will restore life and goods, although the survival of the creature is subject to the usual System Shock survival die roll. Any former living creature, regardless of size, can be thus returned to flesh. Ordinary stone can be likewise turned to flesh at a volume of 9 cubic feet per level of experience of the spellcaster. The reverse will turn flesh of any sort to stone, just as the stone to flesh spell functions. All possessions in the person of the creature likewise turn to stone. This reverse of the spell will require a saving throw, be allowed the intended victim. The material component of this spell are a pinch of earth and a drop of blood. Lime and water and earth are used for the reverse. Tensor's Transformation. Tensor's Transformation is a sight guaranteed to astound any creature not aware of its power, for when the magic user casts the Dweomer, he or she undergoes a startling transformation. The size and strength of the magic user increases to heroic proportions, so he or she becomes a formidable fighting machine, for the spell causes the caster to become a berserk fighter. The magic user's hit points double, and all damage he or she sustains comes first from the magical points gained, so if damage does not exceed original hit points, none is actually taken. But if damage beyond the additional amount is sustained, each point counts as 2 double damage. The armor class of the magic user is a full 4 factors better than that he or she possessed prior to casting the spell. Armor class 10 goes to 6, armor class 9 to 5, armor class 8 to 4, etc. All attacks are at a level equal to those of a fighter of the same level as the magic user, i.e., the spellcaster uses the combat table normally restricted to fighters, and although he or she can employ a dagger only in attacking, damage inflicted by the weapon is at +2 additional hit points, and 2 such attacks per round are made by the magic user. However, it is worth noting that this spell must run its full course, and the magic user will continue attacking until all opponents are slain. He or she is killed, the magic is dispelled, or the transformation duration expires. The material component for casting this Dweomer is a potion of heroism, or superheroism, which the magic user must consume during the course of uttering the spell. And that is it for 6th level spells. Whew. I don't know. This is so very tongue-tying to do this. All right, 7th level spells. Bigby's Grasping Hand Evocation. Bigby's Grasping Hand is a superior version of the 6th level Bigby's Forceful Hand spell, being like it in many ways. The Grasping Hand can actually hold motionless a creature or object of up to 1,000 pounds weight, or move creatures as a double-strength Forceful Hand. The material component is a leather glove. Keiko Demon. Conjuration, Summoning. This perilous exercise in Dweomer craft summons up a powerful demon of type 4, 5, or 6, depending upon the demon's name being known to the magic user. Note that this spell is not of sufficient power to bring a demon of greater power, and lesser sorts are not called as they have no known names. In any event, the spellcaster must know the name of the type 4, 5, or 6 demon he or she is summoning. As the spell name implies, the demon so summoned is most angry and evilly disposed. The spellcaster must be within a circle of protection, or a thaumaturgic triangle with protection from evil. And the demon confined within a pentagram, circled pentacle, or if he or she is to avoid being slain or carried off by the summoned Keiko demon, the summoned demon can be treated with as follows. 1. The magic user can require the monster to perform a desirous course of action by force of threat and pain from a spirit rack spell, allowing freedom whenever the demon performs the full extent of the service, and forcing the demon to pledge word upon it. This is exceedingly dangerous, as a minor error in such a bargain will be seized upon by the monster to reverse the desired outcome, or simply to kill and devour the summoner. Furthermore, the demon will bear great enmity for the magic user forever after such forceful obedience, so the spellcaster had better be most powerful and capable. 2. By tribute of fresh human blood and the promise of one or more human sacrifices, the summoner can bargain with the demon for willing service. Again, the spellcaster is well advised to have ample protection and power to defend himself or herself, as the demon might decide the offer is insufficient, or it is easier to enjoy the summoner's slow death and decide not to accept the bargain as offered. Although the demon will have to abide by a pledge, as his name is known, he will have to hold only to the exact wording of the arrangement, not to the spirit of the agreement. On the other hand, only highly evil magic users are likely to attempt to strike such a bargain, and the summoned Keiko demon might be favorably disposed towards such a character, especially if he or she is also chaotic. And 3. The summoned demon can be the object of a Trap the Soul spell. In this case, the magic user will not speak with or bargain for the demon's services, although the Keiko demon might be eager to reach an accord with the Dwemer crafter because he or she is forced into imprisonment. The trapping of the demon is risky only if proper precautions have not been taken, for failure to confine the monster usually means that it is able to escape on its own plane. Once trapped, the demon must remain imprisoned until the possessor of his object of confinement breaks it and frees him, and this requires one service from the now loosed monster. If the individual's freeing the demon fails to demand a service when the monster asks what is required of him, the demon is under no constraint not to slay the liberators on the spot. But if a service is required, the creature must first do his best to perform it and then return to the abyss. The duration of any demon must be limited unless the demon is willing to serve for an extended period. Any required course of action or service which effectively requires an inordinate period of time to perform, or is impossible to perform, is 50% likely to free the demon from his obligations and enable him to be unconstrained in his vengeance upon the spellcaster if he or she is not thereafter continually protected. For a demon so freed can remain on the plane it was summoned to for as long as 666 days. Get it? 666. Evil. Stupid. The demon summoned will be exceptionally strong, i.e. 8 hit points per hit die. Casting time is 1 hour per type, numeric, of the demon to be summoned. If there is any interruption during this period, the spell fails. If there is an interruption while the Keiko demon is summoned, it is 10% probable that it will be able to escape its boundaries and attack the magic user, this percentage rising cumulatively each round of continued interruption. Each demon is entitled to a saving throw versus the summoning spell. If a score higher than the level of the magic user summoned is rolled with 3d6, 2d10 with respect to the type 6 demons, that particular spell failed to bring the desired demon. When this occurs, it is certain that the named demon is imprisoned or destroyed, where the named use was not perfectly correct, so the spellcaster will have to call upon another name to bring forth the Keiko demon. The components of this spell are 5 flaming black candles, a brazier of hot coals upon which must be burned sulfur, bat hairs, lard, soot, mercurinic, acid crystals. I totally said that wrong. Sorry about that. Mandrake root, alcohol, and a piece of parchment with the demon's name inscribed in runes inside a pentacle, and a dish of blood for some mammal, preferably human, of course, placed inside the area where the Keiko demon is to be held. Charm plants. Enchantment. Charm. The Charm Plants spell allows the spellcaster to bring under command vegetable life forms, communicate with them, and these plants will obey instructions to the best of their ability. The spell will charm plants in a 3-inch by 1-inch area. While the spell does not endow the vegetation with new abilities, it does endow the magic user to command the plants to use whatever they have in order to fulfill his or her instructions. And if the plants in the area of effect do have special or unusual abilities, these will be used as commanded by the magic user. The saving throw applies only to intelligent plants and is made at a -4 on the die roll. The material components of the spell are a pinch of hummus, a drop of water, and a twig or leaf. Delayed Blast Fireball. Evocation. This is a badass spell. This spell creates a fireball with +1 on each of its die of damage, and it will not release its blast from 1 to 50 segments, 1/10 to 5 rounds, according to the command upon casting by the magic user. In other respects, the spell is the same level as the 3rd level fireball spell. Drawmage's Instant Summons. Conjuration Summoning. When this spell is cast, the magic user teleports some desired item from virtually any location directly to his or her hand. The object must be singular, can be no larger than a sword is long, have no more mass and weight than a shield, about 75 gold piece weight, and it must be non-living. To prepare this spell, the magic user must hold a gem of not less than 5,000 gold piece value in his or her hand and utter all but the final word of the conjuration. He or she then must have the same gem available to cast the spell. All that is then required is that the magic user utter the final word while crushing the gem, and the desired item is transported instantly into the spellcaster's right or left hand as she or he desires. The item must, of course, have been previously touched during the initial incantation and specifically named, and only that particular item will be summoned by the spell. If the item is in the possession of another creature, the spell will not work, but if the caster will know who the possessor is and roughly where he or she or it is located when the summons is cast. Items can be summoned from other planes of existence, but only if such items are not in the possession, not necessarily physical grasp, of another creature. For each level of experience above the 14th, the magic user is able to summon a desired item from one plane further removed from the plane he or she is upon at the time the spell is cast, i.e., one plane at 14th level, but two at 15th, 3 at 16th, etc. Thus, a magic user of 16th level could affect the spell even if the item desired was on the second layer of one of the outer planes, but at 14th level, the magic user would be able to summon the item only if it were on one of the elemental planes or the astral or ethereal plane. Duo Dimension Alteration. A duo dimension spell causes the caster to have only two dimensions, height and width, but no depth. He or she is thus invisible when a sideways turn is made, and this invisibility can only be detected by means of a true seeing spell or similar means. In addition, the duo-dimensional magic user can pass through the thinnest of spaces as long as they have the proper height according to his or her actual length. Going through the space between a door and its frame is a simple matter. A magic user can perform all actions on a normal basis. He or she can turn and become invisible, move in this state, and appear again next round and cast a spell, disappearing on the following round. Note that when turned, the magic user cannot be affected by any form of attack, but when visible, he or she is subject to triple the amount of damage normal for an attack form, i.e., a dagger thrust would inflict 3 to 12 hit points of damage if it struck a duo-dimensional magic user. Furthermore, the magic user has a portion of his or her existence on the astral plane when the spell is in effect, and he or she is subject to possible notice from creatures thereupon. If noticed, it is 25% probable that the magic user will be entirely brought to the astral plane by attacking from the astral plane. The material component of the spell are a thin, flat ivory likeness of the spellcaster, which must be of finest workmanship, gold filigreed, and enameled and gem-studded at an average cost of 5,000 to 10,000 gold pieces, and a strip of parchment. As the spell is uttered, the parchment is given a half-twist and joined at the ends. The figurine is then passed through the parchment loop, and both disappear forever. Limited Wish. Conjuration Summoning. A limited wish is a very potent but difficult spell. It will fulfill literally, but only partially or for a limited duration, the utterance of the spellcaster. Thus, the actuality of the past, present, or future might be altered, but possibly only for the magic user, unless the wording of the limited wish is most carefully stated in some limited manner. The use of a limited wish will not substantially change major realities, nor will it bring wealth or experience merely by asking. This spell can, for example, restore some hit points or all hit points for a limited duration, lost by the magic user. It can reduce opponent hit probabilities or damage. It can increase duration of some magical effect. It can cause a creature to be favorably disposed to the spellcaster, and so on. The limited wish can possibly give a minor clue to some treasure or magic item. Greedy desires will usually end in disaster for the wisher. Casting time is the actual number of seconds, at 6 per segment, to phrase the limited wish. Mass Invisibility, Illusion Phantasm. This is the same as an invisibility spell, except that it can hide creatures in a 3-inch by 3-inch area up to 300 to 400 man-sized creatures, 30 to 40 giants, or 6 to 8 large dragons. Monster Summoning 5, Conjuration Summoning. This spell summons 1 to 2 5th level monsters, and they will appear in 1 to 3 rounds. See Monster Summoning 1 for other details. Mordenkainen's Sword. Upon casting this spell, the magic user brings into being a shimmering sword-like plane of force. The spellcaster is able to mentally wield this weapon to the exclusion of activities other than movement, causing it to move and strike as if it were being used by a fighter. The basic chance for Mordenkainen's sword to hit is the same as the chance for a sword wielded by a fighter of 1/2 of the level of the spellcaster, i.e., if cast by a 14th level magic user, the weapon has the same hit probability as a sword wielded by a 7th level fighter. The sword has no magical 2-hit bonuses, but it can hit any sort of opponent, even those normally struck only by +3 weapons, or astral, ethereal, or out of phase. And it will hit any armor class on a roll of 19 or 20. It inflicts 5 to 20 hit points on opponents of man-sized or smaller, and 5 to 30 on opponents larger than man-sized. It can be used to subdue. It lasts until the spell duration expires, a dispel magic is used successfully upon it, or its caster no longer desires it. The material component is a miniature platinum sword with a grip and pommel of a copper and zinc, which costs 500 gold pieces to construct, and which disappears after the spell's completion. Phase Door Alteration. When this spell is cast, the magic user attunes his or her body, and a section of wall is affected as if by a pass-wall spell. The phase door is invisible to all creatures, save the spellcaster, and only he or she can use the space or passage the spell creates, disappearing with the phase door is entered and appearing when it is exited. The phase door lasts for 1 usage for every 2 levels of experience of the spellcaster. It can be dispelled only by casting a dispel magic from a higher level magic user, or by several lower level magic users casting it in concert, whose combined levels of experience are more than double that of the magic user who casts the spell. Power Word Stun. Conjuration Summoning. When a power word stun is uttered, any creature of the magic user's choice will be stunned, reeling and unable to think coherently or act. For 2 to 8, 2d4 melee rounds. Of course, the magic user must be facing the creature, and it must be within the spell's casting range of 1/2 inch per level of experience. Creatures with 1 to 30 hit points will be stunned for 4 to 16, 44 rounds. Those with 31 to 60 hit points will be stunned for 2 to 8, 2d4 rounds. Those with 61 to 90 hit points will be stunned for 1 to 4 d4 rounds, and creatures with over 90 hit points will not be affected. Note that if a creature is weakened due to any cause so that its hit points are below the usual maximum, the current number of hit points possessed will be used. Reverse Gravity Alteration. This spell reverses gravity in an area of effect, causing all unfixed objects and creatures within it to fall upwards. The reverse gravity lasts for 1 second, 1 to 6 or 1/6 of a segment, during which time the objects and creatures will fall 16 feet up. If some solid object is encountered in this fall, the object strikes it in the same manner as a normal downward fall. At the end of the spell duration, the affected objects and creatures fall downwards as the spell affects an area. Objects tens, hundreds, or even thousands of feet in the air can be affected. The material components of the spell are a lodestone and iron fillings. That's awesome, because that's literally like smashing them against the ceiling and then smashing them against the floor with the force of gravity. That's dope. Simulacrum. Illusion. Phantasm. By means of the spell, the magic user is able to create a duplicate of any creature. The duplicate appears exactly the same as the real. There are differences. The simulacrum will have only 51% to 60%, 50% plus 1% to 10% of the hit points of the real creature. There will be personality differences. There will be areas of knowledge which the duplicate does not have, and a detect magic spell will instantly reveal it as a simulacrum, as will a true seeing spell at all times, the simulacrum remains under the absolute command of the magic user who created it, although no special telepathic link exists. So command must be exercised in the normal manner. The spell creates the form of the creature, but it's only a zombie-like creature. A reincarnation spell must be used to give the duplicate a vital force, and a limited wish spell must be used to empower the duplicate with 40% to 65%, 35% plus 5% to 30% of the knowledge and personality of the original. The level, if any, of the simulacrum will be from 20% to 50% of the original creature. The duplicate creature is formed from ice or snow. The spell is cast over the rough form, and some piece of the creature to be duplicated must be placed inside the snow or ice. Additionally, the spell requires powdered ruby. The simulacrum has no ability to become more powerful, i.e. it cannot increase its levels or abilities. Statue. Alteration. When a statue dweomer is cast, the magic user or other creature is apparently turned to solid stone, along with any garments and equipment worn or carried. The initial transformation from flesh to stone requires one full round after the spell is cast. Thereafter, the creature can withstand any inspection and appear to be a stone statue, although a faint magic will be detected from the stone if it is checked for. Despite being in this condition, the petrified individual can see, hear, and smell normally. Feeling is only as acute as that which would actually affect the granite hard substance of the individual's body, i.e., chipping is equal to a slight wound, but breaking off of the statue's arm is another matter. The individual under the magic of the statue spell can be returned to normal state in 1/6 of a segment, and then returned to a statue state in the same period if he or she so desires, as long as the spell duration is in effect. During the initial transformation from flesh to stone, the creature must make a saving throw of 82% or less, with -1 deducted from the die roll score for each point of his or her constitution score. So an 18 constitution indicates certain successes, failures indicate system shock and resultant death. The material components of the spell are lime, sand, and a drop of water stirred by an iron bar, such as a nail or spike. Vanish. Alteration. When the magic user employs this spell, he or she causes an object to vanish. The magic user can cause the object to be teleported, see teleport spell, if it weighs up to a maximum of 500 gold pieces per level of experience of the spellcaster, i.e., a 14th level magic user can vanish and cause to reappear at his or her desired location 7,000 gold pieces weight. Greater object can be made to vanish, but they are simply placed into the ethereal plane and replaced with stone. Thus, a door can be made to disappear, and it will be replaced by a stone wall of 1 foot thickness, or equal in thickness to the door, whichever is greater. The maximum number of material which can be affected is 3 cubic feet per level of experience. Thus, both weight and volume limit the spell. A dispel magic which is successful will bring back vanished items from the ethereal plane. That is the end of 7th level spells. Sweet hell, this is just tying up my tongue. Do you guys have a favorite spell that I've read so far? Kind of interesting stuff. A lot of this stuff is new to me. I've never had a magic user this high level to be able to cast these level spells. 8th level spells. Antipathy, sympathy, enchantment, charm. This spell allows the magic user to set up certain vibrations, which will tend to either repel or attract a specific type of living, intelligent creature, or characters of a particular alignment. The magic user must decide which effect is desired with regard to what creature or alignment type before beginning the dweomer crafting, for the components of each applications differ. The spell cannot be cast upon living creatures. Antipathy, this dweomer causes the affected creature or alignment type to feel an overpowering urge to leave the area or not touch the affected item. If a saving throw versus magic is successful, the creature may stay or touch the item, but the creature will feel very uncomfortable, and a persistent itching will cause it to suffer the loss of 1 point of dexterity per round the area or item is remained in or touched, subject to a maximum of 4 points. Failure to save versus magic forces the creature alignment type to abandon the magic area or item, shunning it permanently and never willingly entering or touching it until the spell is removed or expired. The material component of this application of the spell is a lump of alum soaked in vinegar. Sympathy. By casting the sympathy application of the spell, the magic user can cause a particular type of creature or alignment of character to feel elated and pleased to be in an area or with the prospect of touching or possessing an object or item. The desire to stay in the area or touch possessed the magic object or item will be overpowering, and unless a saving throw versus magic is made, the creature or character will stay or refuse to release the object. If the saving throw is successful, the creature or character is released from the enchantment, but a subsequent saving throw must be made from 1 to 6 turns later. And if this one fails, the affected creature will return to the area or object. The material components of the spell are 1,000 gold pieces worth of crushed pearls and a drop of honey. Note that the particular kind of creature to be affected must be named specifically, i.e. red dragons, hill giants, were-rats, lamasu, catoblepaws, vampires, etc. Likewise, a specific alignment type for characters must be named, i.e. chaotic evil, chaotic good, lawful neutral, neutral, etc. If this spell is cast upon an area, a 10-foot per side cube can be magicked per level of experience of the magic user. If an object or item is magicked, only that simple thing can be enchanted, but affected creatures or characters save versus the magic thereon at -2. Bigby's Clenched Fist Evocation. Bigby's Clenched Fist spell brings forth a huge disembodied hand, which is balled into a fist. This magical member is under the mental control of the spellcaster, and he or she can cause it to strike an opponent each round. No other spell casting or magical activity may be undertaken for the duration of the spell. The clenched fist never misses, but the effectiveness of its blow varies from round to round. So we got a bit of a chart here showing what the die roll and then what the damage is and type of hit. Note any stunned opponents allow the magic user to add +4 to his or her die roll to determine how well the fist strikes, as the opponent is not capable of dodging or defending against the attack effectively. This spell can be used with any of the other hand spells of the Archmage Bigby. The material component of the spell is a leather glove and a small device consisting of 4 rings joined so as to form a slightly curved line with an eye upon the bottom of the rings. With an eye upon which the bottom of the rings rest. The whole fashioned of an alloyed metal of copper and zinc. The fist is destroyed by damage equal to the hit points of its caster being inflicted upon it. Clone. Necromantic. This spell creates a duplicate version of a person. This clone is in all respects the duplicate of the individual, complete to the level of experience, memories, etc. However, the duplicate is the person, so that if the original and a duplicate exist at the same time, each knows of the other's existence. And the original person and the clone will each desire to do away with the other, for such an alter ego is unbearable to both. If one cannot destroy the other, 95% will go insane, 75% likely to be the clone, and destroy itself, or possibly 5%, both will become mad and commit suicide. These probabilities will occur within 1 week of the dual existence. The material component of the spell is a small piece of flesh of the person to be duplicated. Note that the clone will become the person as he or she existed at the time at which the flesh was taken, and all subsequent knowledge, experience, etc. will be totally unknown to the clone. Also, the clone will be a physical duplicate, and possessions of the original are another matter entirely. Note that a clone takes from 2 to 8 months to grow, and only after that time is dual existence established. That's crazy. Glass Steel. Alteration. The Glass Steel spell turns crystal or glass into a transparent substance which has the tensile strength and unbreakability of actual steel. Only a relatively small volume of material can be affected, a maximum weight of 10 pounds per level of experience of the spellcaster, and it must form one whole object. The material components of the spell are a small piece of glass and a small piece of steel. Incendiary Cloud. Alteration Evocation. An incendiary cloud spell exactly resembles the smoke effects of a pyrotechnics spell, except that its minimum dimensions are a cloud of 10 foot high by 20 feet length and breadth. This dense, vaporous cloud billows forth, and on the third round of its existence, it begins to flame, causing 1/2 a hit point per level of the magic user who cast it. On the fourth round, it does 1 hit point of damage per level of the caster, and on the fifth round, it again drops to 1/2 hit point of damage per level of the magic user as its flames burn out. Any successive rounds of existence are simply harmless smoke which obscures vision within its confines. Creatures within the cloud need make only one saving throw if it is successful, but if they fail, they roll again at the fourth and fifth rounds, if necessary, to attempt to reduce damage sustained by 1/2. In order to cast a spell, the magic user must have an available fire source, just as with the pyrotechnic spell, scrapings from beneath a dung pile, and a pinch of dust. Mass Charm. Enchantment Charm. A Mass Charm spell affects either persons or monsters just as a Charm person spell or a Charm monster spell does. The Mass Charm, however, will affect a number of creatures whose combined levels of experience and or hit dice does not exceed twice the level of experience of the spell caster. All affected creatures must be within the spell's range and within a maximum area of 3 inches by 3 inches. Note that the creature's saving throws are unaffected by the number of recipients. Charm person and Charm monster. But all target creatures are subject to a penalty of -2 on the saving throw because of the efficiency and power of a Mass Charm spell. Maze. Conjuration Summoning. An extra-dimensional space is brought into being upon utterance of a maze spell. The recipient will wander in the shifting labyrinth of force planes for a period of time which is totally dependent upon its intelligence. Note, minotaurs are not affected by this spell. And you can see here the intelligence of the mazed creature and the time trapped in the maze. Mind Blank. Abjuration. When the very powerful Mind Blank spell is cast, the recipient is totally protected from all devices and or spells which detect, influence, or read emotions and or thoughts. Protections include augury, charm, command, confusion, divination, empathy, all forms, ESP, fear, feeble mind, mass suggestion, phantasmal killer, possession, rulership, soul trapping, suggestion, and telepathy. Cloaking protection also extends to prevention of discovery or information gathered by crystal balls or other scrying devices, clairaudience, clairvoyance, communing, contacting other planes, or wish-related methods. Wishing, limited wish, alter reality. Of course, exceedingly powerful deities would be able to penetrate the spell's powers. Note that this spell also protects from psionic-related detection and or influence, such as domination or mass domination, hypnosis, invisibility, the psionic sort is mind-related, and precognition, plus those powers which are already covered as spells. Monster Summoning 6, Conjuration Summoning. This spell summons 1 or 2 6th-level monsters, the creatures appearing in 1 to 3 rounds. See Monster Summoning 1 for other details. And we got a fun little image here of an Umber Hulk, I think that is, dancing to Otto's Irresistible Dance, Enchantment Charm. When Otto's Irresistible Dance is placed upon a creature, the spell causes the recipient to begin dancing, feet shuffling and tapping. This dance makes it impossible for the victim to do anything other than caper and prance. This cavorting, lowering the armor class of the creature by -4, making saving throws impossible, and negating any consideration of a shield. Note that the creature must be touched, possibly as if melee combat were taking place and the spellcaster were striking to do damage. It's pretty funny. Permanency. Alteration. Level 8. This spell affects the duration of certain other spells, making duration permanent. The spells upon which a personal permanency will be effective are Comprehend Languages, Detect Evil, Detect Invisibility, Detect Magic, Infravision, Protection from Evil, Protection from Normal Missiles, Read Magic, Tongues, Unseen Servant. The magic user casts the desired spell and then follows with the permanency spell. Each permanency spell lowers the magic user's constitution by 1 point. The magic user cannot cast these spells upon other creatures. In addition to personal use, the permanency spell can be used to make the following object, creature, or area effect spells lasting: Enlarge, Fear, Gust of Wind, Invisibility, Magic Mouth, Prismatic Sphere, Stinking Cloud, Wall of Fire, Wall of Force, Web. The former application of permanency can be dispelled only by a magic user of greater level than the spellcaster was when he or she initially cast it. The permanency application to other spells allows it to be cast simultaneously with any of the latter when no living creature is the target, but the permanency can be dispelled normally, and thus the entire spell negated. Polymorph any object. Alteration. This spell changes one object, living or otherwise, into another. When used as a polymorph other or stone to flesh, simply treat the spell as a more powerful version, with saving throws made at -4 on the die. When it is cast in order to change the objects, the duration of the spell will depend on how radically removed the original was from its magicked state, as well as how different in size. This will be determined by your dungeon master by comparing kingdom, animal, vegetable, mineral; class, mammals, bipeds, fungi, metals, spheres, etc.; relationship, twig is to tree, sand is to beach, etc.; size, smaller, equal, larger; shape, comparative resemblance of the original to the polymorph state; intelligence, particularly with regard to a chance in which the end product is more intelligent. Change in kingdom makes the spell work for hours or turns, i.e., hours if removed, turns if 2 removed. Other changes likewise affect spell durations. Thus, changing a lion into an androsphinx would be permanent, but turning a turnip to a purple worm would be a change of only hours duration. Turning a tusk into an elephant would be permanent, but turning a twig into a sword would be only a change of several turns duration. All polymorphed objects radiate a strong magic, and if a dispel magic spell is used upon them, they will return to their natural state form. Note that a stone to flesh or its reverse will affect objects under this spell. The material components of the spell are mercury, gum arabic, and smoke. NB, System Shock, applies to living creatures, as do the restrictions noted regarding polymorph others and stone to flesh. Power word blind. When a power word blind is cast, one or more creatures within the spell range and area of effect will become temporarily sightless. The spell affects up to 100 hit points of creatures, but the duration is dependent upon how many hit points of creatures are affected. If 50 or less points are affected, blindness lasts for 2 to 5, d4 plus 1, turns. If 51 or more hit points of creatures are affected, the spell duration is but 2 to 5 rounds. Note that the spellcaster must indicate which creature he or she desires to affect with the spell, noting one as target center, prior to determining results. Creatures with over 100 hit points are not affected. Blindness can be removed by Cure Blindness or Dispel Magic. Certan's Spell Immunity, Abjuration. By use of this spell, the magic user is able to confer virtual immunity to certain spells and magical attack forms upon those he or she touches and magics. For every 4 levels of experience of the magic user, one creature can be protected by the Certan's Spell Immunity spell, but the duration of the protection is similarly dispersed upon those additional figures. Example: a 16th level magic user can cast the Dweomer upon one creature, and it will last 16 turns, or he or she can place it upon 2 creatures for an 8-turn duration, or upon 4 creatures for but 4-turn duration. The protection gives a bonus to saving throws as follows: Beguile, Charm, and Suggestion is +9. Command, Domination, Fear, Hold, Scare is +7. Geese and Quest is +5. The material component of this spell is a diamond which must be crushed and sprinkled over the spell recipients, and each such creature must also have in its possession a diamond of any size, intact and carried on its person. Symbol, Conjuration, Summoning. A symbol spell causes the creation of magical runes which affect creatures which pass over, touch, read, or pass through a portal upon which the symbol is inscribed. Upon casting the spell, the magic user inscribes the symbol upon whatever surface he or she desires. Likewise, the spellcaster is able to place the symbol of his or her choice using any one of the following. Death. One or more creatures whose total hit points do not exceed 80 are slain. Discord. All creatures are affected and immediately fall to loud bickering and arguing. Furthermore, there is a 50% probability that creatures of different alignment will attack each other. The bickering lasts for 5 to 20 rounds, the fighting for 2 to 8 rounds. Fear. This symbol operates as an extra strong fear spell, causing all creatures to save versus the spell at -4 on the die, or panic and flee as if affected by a fear spell. Hopelessness. All creatures are affected and must turn back in dejection unless they save versus magic. Affected creatures will submit to the demands of any opponent, i.e. surrender, get out, etc. The hopelessness lasts for 3 to 12 3d4 turns, and during this period it is 25% probable that affected creatures will take no action during any round, and 25% likely that those taking action will turn back or retire from battle as applicable. Insanity. One or more creatures whose total hit points do not exceed 120 will become insane and remain so, acting as if a confusion spell has been placed upon them until a heal, restoration, or wish spell is used to remove the madness. Pain. All creatures are affected, having racking pains shooting through their body, which cause them to have -2 on dexterity and -4 on attack die for from 2 to 20 turns. Sleep. All creatures under 8+1 hit die will immediately fall into a catatonic slumber and cannot be awakened for 5 to 16 d12 plus 4 turns. Stunning. One or more creatures whose total hit points do not exceed 160 will be stunned and reeling for 3 to 12 3d4 rounds, dropping anything it or they hold in manipulative members. The type of symbol cannot be recognized without it being read and thus activating its effects. The material components of the spell are powdered black opal and diamond dust worth not less than 5,000 gold pieces each. Trap the Soul. Conjuration Summoning. This spell is similar to the Magic Jar, except that the Trap the Soul spell forces the subject creature's life force and its material body, if any, into a special prison magicked by the spellcaster. The subject of the spell must be seen by the caster, and the magic user must know the subject's true name as well as when the final word is uttered. Preparatory to the actual casting of the Trap the Soul, the magic user must prepare the soul prison, a gem of 1,000 gold piece value for every hit die or level of experience the creature whose soul is to be trapped possesses, i.e. it requires a gem of 10,000 gold piece value to trap a 10 hit die or 10th level creature by placing an enchantment and item spell upon it and then placing a maze spell into the gem, thereby forming the prison for the soul to be trapped. There are 2 manners in which the soul of the victim can be imprisoned. The final word of the spell can be spoken when the creature is within spell range, but this entitles it to exercise its magic resistance, if any, and a saving throw versus magic as well, and if the latter is successful, the gem shatters. The second method of soul trapping is far more insidious, for it tricks the victim into accepting a trigger object inscribed with the final word of the spell, which will automatically place the creature's soul in the trap. If this method is used, it will be necessary to name the triggering item when the prison gem is magicked. A sympathy spell may be placed on the trigger item. As soon as the subject creature picks up or accepts the trigger item, its soul is automatically transferred to the gem. The gem prison will hold the soul trapped until time indefinite, or until it's broken and the soul is released, allowing the material body to reform. If the creature trapped is a powerful creature from another plane, and this could actually mean a character trapped by some inhabitant of another plane of existence when the character is not on the prime material plane, it can be required to perform a service immediately upon being freed. Otherwise, the creature can go totally free once the gem imprisoning it is broken. That is all the 8th level magic user spells, and we only have 9th level left. I think I can do it. I think I can. It's exhausting, man. Okay. Let me mark down our time here. 9th level spells. Astral Spell, Evocation. Except as noted above, this spell is the same as the 7th level Cleric spell, Astral Spell. Bigby's Crushing Hand, Evocation. Bigby's Crushing Hand causes the appearance of a huge disembodied hand, which is similar to Bigby's Forceful Hand and Bigby's Clenched Fist. The Crushing Hand is under the mental control of the spellcaster, and he or she can cause it to grasp and squeeze an opponent. Damage from this constriction depends on the number of rounds it acts upon the victim. The first round is 1 to 10 hit points. The second and third rounds are 2 to 20 hit points. The fourth and beyond are 4 to 40 hit points. The hand can sustain hit points equal to those of the magic user who created it before being dispelled. The material component of the spell are a glove of snake skin and the shell of an egg. Gate. Conjuration Summoning. Except as noted above, this spell is the same as the 7th level Cleric spell, Gate. Hold on, we got a nice little demon image. I love these little illustrations. It looks like a wood cutting, like a wood block cutting. It's kind of cool. Imprisonment. Abjuration. Reversible. When an imprisonment spell is cast and the victim is touched, the recipient is entombed in a state of suspended animation, cf. Temporal stasis, in a small sphere far below the surface of the earth. The victim remains there unless a reverse of the spell with the creature's name and background is cast. Magical Search by Crystal Ball, a locate object spell or similar means, will not reveal the fact that a creature is imprisoned. The reverse, Freedom spell, will cause the appearance of the victim at the spot he, she, or it was entombed and sunk into the earth. There is a 10% chance that 1 to 100 other creatures will be freed from imprisonment at the same time if the magic user does not perfectly get the name and background of the creature to be freed. The spell only works if the name and background of the victim are known. Meteor Swarm. Evocation. A meteor swarm is a very powerful and spectacular spell, which is similar to a fireball in many aspects. When it is cast, either 4 spheres of 2-foot diameter or 8 spheres of 1-foot diameter spring from the outstretched hand of the magic user and streak in a straight line up to the distance demanded by the spellcaster, up to the maximum range. Any creature in the straight line path of these missiles will receive the full effect of the missile or missiles without benefit of a saving throw. Whoa. The meteor missiles leave a fiery trail of sparks, and each bursts as a fireball. The large spheres each do 10 to 40 hit points of damage, the 4 bursting in a diamond or box pattern. Each has a 3-inch diameter area of effect, and each sphere will be 2 inches apart along the side of the pattern, so that there are overlapping areas of effect, and the center will be exposed to all 4 blasts. The 8 small spheres have 1/2 the diameter, 1 1/2 inches, and 1/2 the damage potential, 5 to 20. They burst in a pattern of a box within a diamond or vice versa, each of the outer sides 2 inches long, and the inner sides being 1 inch long. Note that the center will have 4 areas of overlapping effect, and these are numerous peripheral areas which have 2 overlapping areas of effect. A saving throw for each area of effect will indicate whether full hit points of damage or half the indicated amount of damage will be sustained by creatures within each area, except as already stated with regard to the missiles impacting. Monster Summon 7. Conjuration Summoning. This spell summons 1 or 2 7th level monsters, which appear 1 round after the spell is cast, or 1 8th level monster, which will appear 2 rounds after the spell is cast. See Monster Summoning 1 for other details. Power Word Kill. Conjuration Summoning. When a power word kill is uttered, 1 or more creatures within the spell range and area of effect will be slain. The power word will destroy a creature with up to 60 hit points, or it will kill 2 or more creatures with 10 or few hit points, up to a maximum of 120 hit points. The option to attack a single creature or multiple creatures must be stated along with the spell range and area of effect center. Prismatic Sphere. Abjuration, Conjuring, Summoning. The spell enables the magic user to conjure up an opaque globe of shimmering, multicolored spheres of light to surround him or her, which give protection from all forms of attack. This scintillating sphere flashes all the 7 colors of the visible spectrum, and each of these spheres of color has a different power and purpose. Any creature with fewer than 8 hit dice will be blinded for from 2 to 8 turns by the colors of the sphere. The phenomenon is immobile, and only the spellcaster can pass in and out of the prismatic sphere without harm. Note that typically the upper hemisphere of the globe will be visible as the spellcaster is at the center of the sphere, so the lower half is usually hidden by the floor surface he or she is standing upon. The colors and effects of the prismatic sphere, as well as what will negate each globe, are pardon me. Let me show the little chart here. Red prevents all non-magical missiles inflicting 10 points of damage. Orange prevents all magical missiles, inflicts 20 damage. Yellow prevents poisons, gases, and petrifications, inflicts 40 damage. Green prevents all breath weapons, save versus poison or dead. Blue prevents location detection, and psionics, save versus petrification or turn to stone. Oh, there's more. Indigo prevents all magic spells, save versus wander insane. Violet, force field protection, save versus magic or sent to another plane. Jeez. Note that a Rod of Cancellation will destroy a prismatic sphere. Otherwise, anything entering the sphere will be destroyed. Any creature subject to the effects of each and every globe is indicated, i.e. 70 hit points of damage plus death, petrification, insanity, and or instantaneous transportation to another plane, and only the 4 latter effects are subject to saving throws. The individual globes may be destroyed by appropriate magical attacks in consecutive order. The first globe destroyed before any others, then the second, etc. That's a hell of a spell. Shape change, alteration. With this spell, the magic user is able to assume the form of any creature short of a demigod, greater devil, demon, prince, singular dragon type, greater demon, or the like. The spellcaster becomes the creature he or she wishes, and has all of the abilities save those dependent upon intelligence, for the mind of the creature is that of the spellcaster. Thus, he or she can change into a griffin, thence to an efreet, and then to a titan, etc. These creatures have whatever hit points the magic user has at the time of the shape change. Each alteration in form requires 1 segment. No system shock is incurred. Example: a wizard is in combat and assumes the form of a will-o-wisp, and when this form is no longer useful, the wizard changes into a stone golem and walks away. When pursued, the golem changes into a flea which hides under a horse until it can hop off and become a bush. If detected as the latter, the magic user can become a dragon, pool of water, or just about anything else. The material component of the spell is a jade circlet worth no less than 5,000 gold pieces, which will shatter at the expiration of the magic's duration. In the meantime, it is left in the wake of the shape change, and premature shattering will cause the magic to be dispelled. This is funny. It's apparently changed into a giant frog, and he's attacking a gnome or something. Weird. Temporal stasis. Alteration. Reversible. Upon casting this spell, the magic user places the recipient creature into a state of suspended animation. This cessation of time means that the creature does not grow older. Its body functions virtually cease. This state persists until the magic is removed by a dispel magic spell, or the reverse of the spell. Temporal reinstatement is uttered. Note that the reverse requires only a single word and no somatic or material components. The material component of the temporal stasis spell is a powder composed of diamond, emerald, ruby, and sapphire dust, 1 stone of each type being required. Time stop. Alteration. Upon casting a time stop spell, the magic user causes the flow of time to stop in the area of effect, and outside this area, the sphere simply seems to shimmer for an instant. During the period of spell duration, the magic user can move and act freely within the area where time is stopped, but all other creatures there are frozen in their actions, for they are literally between ticks of the time clock, and the spell duration is subjective to the caster. No creature can enter the area of effect without being stopped in time also, and if the magic user leaves it, he or she immediately negates the spell. When spell duration ceases, the magic user will again be operating in normal time. Wish. Conjuration Summoning. The Wish spell is a more potent version of a limited wish. If it is used to alter reality with respect to hit points sustained by a party, to bring a dead character to life, or to escape from a difficult situation by lifting the spellcaster and his or her party from one place to another, it will not cause the magic user any disability. Other forms of wish, however, will cause the spellcaster to be weak, -3 on strength, and require 2 to 8 days of bed rest due to the stresses of the wish placed upon time, space, and his or her body. Regardless of what is wished for, the exact terminology of the wish spell is likely to be carried through. This discretionary power of the referee is necessary in order to maintain game balance, as wishing another character dead would be grossly unfair. For example, your DM may well advance the spellcaster to a future period where the object is no longer alive, i.e. putting the wishing character out of the campaign. And that is the end of all wizard spells. The next is illusion spells, and I think that's all I'm going to do for today because we're almost at 2 hours anyway. So I think that is as good a place as any to pause this reading. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That is it for this episode of Gaming Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. What do you think of these spells? Did you have a favorite wizard spell that was covered today, or maybe in the past, a favorite spell that I've already covered? Or what are you looking forward to? I mean, we've got illusionist spells, and I think we have another type of magic casting spells to go over as well before we continue on with the player's handbook. So we have all that to look forward to. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at info@dragonlance-saga.com or comment below. Thank you for tuning in. I'd like to once again invite you to continue to consider becoming a patron or member of this channel, and you can pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link, all of which are in the description below. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I hope you'll join me in the celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, Slán Javar.